Dating as a fearful avoidant is tough enough as it is. And dating somebody who's securely attached is probably the easiest, um, in the sense that you will heal the easiest with a securely attached person. Another FA, another fearful avoidant, might feel the most comfortable to your system because that's pretty much what you know, which is why you tend to have a pattern of toxic relationships. But now we are going to talk about dating an anxiously preoccupied person. So that is somebody that has a different insecure attachment style. And dating anybody with an insecure attachment style always comes with its challenges. And I do have to say, when you know about the attachment styles, everybody, and that's very logical, you tend to diagnose other people. So it could be that your partner is actually securely attached, but because of the fearful avoidance tendencies, they might be starting to lean or leaning anxiously preoccupied. So it's just kind of like a coping mechanism, but not necessarily a full-on attachment style. So I just want to mention that because you start to see signs everywhere. And it's not necessarily so that your partner is full-on anxiously preoccupied attached. Having said that, we are going to talk about 5 challenges, even when you are dating a securely attached person that leans towards anxiously preoccupied, you might run into these. So let's dive in. The first of the 5 challenges is that you will deactivate more. So you have deactivation and activation, and deactivation means you want to break the connection. Connection doesn't feel safe for most fearful avoidance, so you want to break the connection, and you do that by deactivating strategies, which could be doubting your feelings, getting angry, getting annoyed, focusing on flaws, on physical flaws, any way to put your partner at a distance and break the connection. And activation strategies are trying to get that person to come closer, so reeling them back in, flirting, any type of mechanism, which you will probably not use in a relationship with an anxiously preoccupied person because they are very available. They are always there. They always want to connect. So what you do is deactivate again and again and again. And this is challenging because you can feel like you are just a very cold, distant, selfish person. And that's not true. It's just that the connection is too much for you to bear. And so you do deactivate a lot just to keep yourself safe. You are not a cold person. You are not. You are very warm and loving when you feel safe. And I think you maybe even know that. So just trust that. Okay. So that was the first. The second. Your partner will want to come close more. So an anxiously preoccupied person will always want to come close and even closer and even closer. And that's really hard for even somebody who's securely attached, but especially somebody who's fearfully avoidant attached, because that closeness is what scares you. So your partner just kind of feels like a threat in a way because they only want to come closer and they don't want to take a breather where you also naturally take a breather at the same time. So that's very challenging, the fact that your partner always wants to come closer. An interesting thing is, and I think it's valuable to know that even anxiously preoccupied people, even though they seem they always want to connect, a lot of them are actually also afraid of true connection, just in a little bit of a different way than a fearful avoidant. And I will come back to that in a second because another point we'll touch on that. So a third challenge is that you need to express your boundaries much more. And this is challenging for a fearful avoidant because you don't want to. A lot of times you don't even know what your boundaries are. You have negative associations with putting up boundaries. They weren't listened to, they weren't taken seriously, or you can feel very selfish and like a harsh person when you put up boundaries, because it seems to hurt your anxiously preoccupied partner. And maybe you've also learned in a pattern while growing up that expressing or putting up boundaries is just something you don't do. It's not loving, it's not kind, and that is not true. Not true at all. You need boundaries. Boundaries are a very, very important part of every healthy relationship. So it is very challenging that you have to put up boundaries, and a lot of fearful avoidants that haven't had that skill developed of putting up boundaries, because it is a skill, they tend to withdraw. They tend to become mean. They tend to try to want to show the boundary through their behavior and through like the energy they're sending out. So I remember when I was really bad at putting up boundaries. I didn't even know how. I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know it was allowed. And so whenever Arjen came too close, my now husband, who is definitely securely attached, but when I was in my fearful avoidance state, was leaning towards anxiously preoccupied. That's just the way kind of his brain tried to cope with my erratic behavior. So when he came too close, I would just shut off. I would not feel anything. I would kind of like become this really grumpy person, trying to get him to back off. So I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't say, hey, I'm noticing you want to come close. I just really need some time for myself. Can we connect a little bit later on? That would be an example of just a healthy boundary. But that's really, really, really hard for FAs to do. And that's logical because you've never learned it. So that will be definitely a part of the program I'm developing in healing the fearful avoidant, because putting up boundaries and expressing your needs is so valuable and so necessary for you to feel safe in the relationship. So know that when you do have an anxiously preoccupied partner, it's completely logical and very healthy to put up boundaries. So the fact that they are hurt, they seem hurt, is not your fault. You are not doing anything wrong. You are not a bad person. The anxiously preoccupied person feels like it says something about them because that's their part. That's what they have to deal with. That's their attachment style. They confuse boundaries with not being good enough and being rejected. But that's not on you. That's not for you to fix. And that will definitely help you to be able to open up more in times that it does feel safe, when you know you can put that boundary up. So boundaries are very, very, very important. All right. The fourth one. Sorry, I wrote a lot down, so then I have to read it. I shouldn't do that. You don't have the space to keep giving reassurance. So you, as a fearful avoidant who is in a relationship or is dating, you have a lot to deal with in and of itself with yourself. And it's hard when there's an anxiously preoccupied person that needs reassurance a lot. And it's understandable. It's completely understandable. I mean, that's that attachment style. And it really does help if you give the anxiously preoccupied person that reassurance. If you say, I do love you. I love you. I'm not going anywhere. I just need this time for myself. I am flooded with emotions, and I just need to calm down, and I can't do that right here, but I do love you. It has nothing to do with you. That would really, really help an anxiously preoccupied person. But you are triggered in that moment. So it's really hard for you to articulate even that you're triggered, but also to give that reassurance. You don't have that space. And that's not a bad thing. You are not a bad person, again, for not being able to give that. You are healing, and that takes a lot. That takes a lot of effort. So I remember even with my securely attached partner who was kind of like leaning anxiously preoccupied, I could not deal. I could not deal with his insecurity. I could not deal with his reassurance seeking. And in a way, it's logical and it's okay, because his or her reassurance seeking has nothing to do with you or helping you. They are in their fear brain, fear system at that moment. And that might be even more triggering for the fearful avoidant, because then you feel very alone. You want your partner to be there for you when you are triggered. And then they go and just kind of retreat in their own little fear world where they just want that reassurance from you. They are not thinking about you. They are not thinking about, they don't have that space. They don't have that space either, to be there for you. So that's, if you're both willing to heal, which is awesome, that's what the healing part is for an anxiously preoccupied person, that you are able to just be present with the pain of somebody else and don't take it personally and don't try to fix it. That's like two of the mechanisms that most anxiously preoccupied kind of resort to when they see somebody in pain. So your part is that you have to know when you are triggered and have to be able to articulate that, know what you need, be able to kind of release that in different ways. And that's what we'll talk about in the program, what you'll learn in the program. And then there's the part of your partner that has to be able to allow all those feelings of panic, because they're panicked, and still be present in the moment with you, without trying to fix and without trying to get reassurance. And that's really hard for them to do. So whenever they do that, when you are calm enough, please tell them that that really helped and how it helped you, because they are loving people, they are gentle people, as are you, but they just have a hard time soothing themselves and calming themselves down. And it's very triggering for them if somebody gets really mad. And that's what fearful avoidants do. And that's not that you're a bad person. That's just what comes with the attachment style. So the more you are able to calm yourself, heal your own triggers, the more you will be able to see that your anxiously preoccupied person is able to relax more and more and stay present. And the more they understand you and understand what's going on, that really helps too. So it's good that you're watching this video and maybe even my other videos, because the more you understand yourself, the more your partner understands you, the easier it is for both of you to be present and stay present whenever something is triggered. And that happens a lot in any relationship, even in the securely attached ones. I wrote so much down. I wanted to say so much in this video. Oh yeah. So what an anxiously preoccupied person kind of wants from you is that you are vulnerable. That comes with connection, being vulnerable, and that's really scary. And even more so with an anxiously preoccupied partner, because you feel like when you are vulnerable, any moment that you are, there's no end. You will get swallowed by that vulnerability. You will get swallowed by your partner. Your partner will be like, finally there's vulnerability, finally there's connection, I can breathe again. And they will want more and more and more. And that's what you feel like as a fearful avoidant, because it might not even be completely true, but that's kind of like what you feel out of the energy of your anxiously preoccupied partner. So you feel like whenever I open up a little bit, or we connect a little bit, or I'm a little bit vulnerable, there's no end. Like I cannot put up boundaries. That's what you've learned. So then I'm just going to be vulnerable and there's going to be connection all the time. And that's just too much for a fearful avoidant. You do want connection, but just in proportions. Like you don't proportion it. You don't want connection all the time, even though you feel like you want to and you think you do. It's too much for you to bear real deep connection. And like I said before, the ironic thing is, a lot of anxiously preoccupied people think when there's connection, and there's always connection, then I'll be safe, then everything will be fine. Kind of like the same way we fearful avoidants think if there's passion and attraction all the time, then we'll be safe. So they think they want that connection all the time, And on the other hand, they're scared of it. They're scared of that connection. And that's the same for fearful avoidance. We are scared of having passion and attraction all the time and having those intense feelings, because the risk of losing it and the possibility of messing it up, and the hurt that will come when they would leave us or reject us, is way too big. So all insecure attachment styles have this thing that they really want, but they're also really scared of. But these two have that very, very obviously. So the thing is, why are you attracted to the anxiously preoccupied partner? In a way, they feel safe because they are all in. You know they love you. They show that every single day, all day long. They care for you. They are caring. So you know they're committed. You know they're all in, and that feels safe. But the connection part, that feels unsafe. So the fact that they always want connection, they always want you to be open, they always want you to be vulnerable, that's unsafe. And to take it to the other side, the reason a dismissive avoidant feels safe is because when you're in a relationship with a dismissive avoidant, you control the connection. And this sounds really weird, right? I'm going to explain it also for the situation with the anxiously preoccupied. But when you are in a relationship with a dismissive avoidant, you have to work for connection. You have to work for reassurance, for approval. And so you have the control, because when you don't work, there's no connection. When you do work, there might be connection, not always. And that's what feels safe for you. But what feels unsafe is that the dismissive avoidant partner is not all in, does not fulfill your needs, won't be able to recognize them. I mean, there's a lot of unsafe things in that too. So there's parts safe and unsafe in both relationship with both other insecure attachment styles. So what you're feeling while you're dating an anxiously preoccupied person, that feeling of unsafety, is the fact that you don't have control over the connection. And you're trying to get that control by deactivating, by shutting off, by not feeling anything, by being annoyed with your partner, trying to kind of like keep them at a distance that you feel safe at. But the possibility for connection is always there, and that's what's so scary for you. You feel like you don't have control over that. It would feel much more safe for you to have periods where there's just no connection, and that's okay for both parties. Like, you're both all right with that. And while you're healing, you will be able to handle that way easier and more. And part of that really is putting up boundaries, expressing what you need, and if you can, reassuring your anxiously preoccupied partner, because that will help them to kind of like self-soothe and give you space to breathe and to want to connect. So those were 5 challenges. I'm very curious if these were eye-openers, if this was helping in any way. Let me know in the comments below. And let's help each other by sharing experiences. I am so happy you are here as always, and I will see you in the next one.